Sugar substitutes, these are ones we don't like. I like stevia. It's actually been found to have anti-Lyme infection effects. And erythritol, probably my favorite.
Erythritol is the only one of the sugar alcohols that doesn't affect your body sort of the same way as maltitol or xylitol. It's sort of the Rolls Royce of sugar alcohols. Now, some people are still sensitive to it. You have to know if you're one of those people, but it's digested differently than maltitol or xylitol. So,
what do you think about monk fruit?
It's just fine. If you like the taste of it, it's fine. Monk fruit's fine.
Questions? Yes.
You put honey on the left-hand side?
Because it's sugar. Yeah. Now, if you're going to have honey, like once in a while, I'll put a little bit of honey in my tea, but I mean like very limited amounts. I might put a tablespoon in something I'm baking, but I mean like in a whole batch. Like I don't. It's just very limited amounts with that maple syrup. So that's where we differ from paleo. We don't think that just because it's natural, it's good. So it's still. I mean, cane sugar is natural. It doesn't make it good. Cocaine is natural. You know, cyanide is natural. So it doesn't mean it's good for you just because it's natural. So.
That's really funny.
So eat from the rainbow. Foods of many colors. So just, you know, like pretty much what we're talking about. Lots of greens, berries, peppers, all sorts of stuff. Just no Skittles. Make it natural. So just lots of many, because these are your antioxidants. This is how you're going to keep your brain young and happy. So we went to Turkey, we went to Istanbul, and the spice market is incredible. It's just amazing. This is how I make food interesting. So when you're cooking really clean, you want to figure out like, how do I make it interesting? If I'm cutting all this stuff out, spices and herbs are just incredible. So I love them, and you should keep these in your medicine cabinet. They're just so powerful.
So we have talked about it. Garlic and oregano actually boost blood flow to the brain, as does rosemary. Saffron, the number of studies on saffron, antidepressant effects, head-to-head against Prozac, Zola, Lexapro, equally effective, but no side effects. I told you about the study this morning on rheumatoid arthritis. It's been shown to be helpful for memory. It's been shown to be pro-sexual. Almost all the antidepressants sort of mess with your sex life, make it harder to have an erection or harder to have an orgasm, decrease your desire, which is why, I mean, like you do that 20 times with your patients and they're irritated with you, you begin to look for alternatives. Saffron helps your mood, but is pro-sexual, also can help your memory. Curcumins decrease the plaques thought to be responsible for Alzheimer's disease, but is also anti-inflammatory. So this is the yellow spice, turmeric part of it. They'll make curcumins with. It's why in India there is a much lower level of Alzheimer's disease. Rosemary, thyme, and sage help memory. Cayenne pepper, black pepper boost your metabolism. Cinnamon boosts attention and is an aphrodisiac for men. I told my mother that she hit her forehead and said, that's why I have 7 children. Being Lebanese, they cook with a lot of cinnamon, and she said my father would never leave her alone.
So limit potentially toxic foods. So we've talked a lot about sugar and artificial sweeteners. It's at the top because it's one of the worst. Processed foods. So pretty much anything in a package is loaded with corn and soybean oil, and it's highly inflammatory. The less packaged foods you eat, the better. There are some that are not so bad, but mostly you want to avoid them as much as possible. Gluten found in wheat, barley, and rye. We talked about that. Most grains. If you're going to eat grains, limit them. So I think of them like condiments, right? So if you're going to have grains, think of it like a condiment. In the American diet, we tend to make it our staple. Flip that. Make vegetables your staple, make your grains your condiment, and try, if you can, to focus on gluten-free grains. Things like oats and rice. Dairy, including milk, cheese, and yogurt. So when we are starting out with people, we give them this list, and we're like, just give me 2 weeks. Just do this for 2 weeks. Cut out soy, corn, dairy, grains, gluten, processed foods, and sugar. And they're like, but that's everything in my house. Like, there's nothing to eat. But that's why we give people a cookbook, because there's like so much to eat, but we're just, in our society, we're not used to thinking this way. Everything has just become processed and fast, and we just have such a horrible diet. There's actually about 1,000 things to eat. So you just have to start thinking
Well, and
differently.
that's why I gave you the list of foods you love that love you back, and foods you love that abuse you. And almost all processed foods have pesticides in them. So now you know why pesticides are bad for you. Almost all wheat raised in the United States has pesticides on it. Dairy, so who should be drinking dairy? Baby. Cows. That 70% of the US population does not have the enzyme to process lactose. And so we have all this dairy, which causes global warming, I suppose, with the lactose intolerance.
Now there are
But
people
the
that it does not
antibiotics,
affect.
the
but-
hormones, and gluten. And I learned this, it just like blew my mind that gluten mixed with stomach acid turns to something called gluteomorphins, which actually work on the heroin centers of your brain. So when you take someone's bread away, their first thought is, when can I have it back? It's like, they're like, no, I love this. And it's in the same part of your head as your children. It's
Yeah,
like, I
why?
love my
Why?
children, I love my grandchildren, I love,
My
it's
brain.
like, no, they don't belong in the same place. And casein, the milk protein, turns into caseomorphins, which again work. So no wonder my mom, who lives in Cameo Shores in Vernon Del Mar, an amazing cook. At Christmas, she used to make pizzas every Christmas. And I wouldn't have anything to eat all day because it's like, pizza. And I would go there and I would have 8, 10 slices just because I was an addict with it. I go home and I feel just awful. And then I'm going, oh, gluten, dairy, mixed with love from mother. No, I needed a 12-step program.
Well, and when we would do our classes, the thing that people thought was most on was bread. It was just crazy. And they're like, but Jesus ate bread. Okay, but Monsanto didn't, they weren't around 2,000 years ago when Jesus was around. Okay, cut me some slack here. So, the things people come up with are crazy when they have to give up bread. It's so
And
crazy.
corn. So why corn? Why corn?
So corn actually affects the gut almost like gluten does. It actually causes sores in your gut. It's also almost all genetically modified. So about 90% of it is genetically modified, and it kills monarch butterflies. So it's terrible. It's one of the only plants that when it dies and goes into the soil, kills other plants. So it's really not good for you. It's
And
not good for the environment.
you had said about testimonials with food. So
I had a patient who had been seeing psychiatrists for 30 years, and he had several suicide attempts. He'd been on every antidepressant. He had ECT, electric shock therapy, 3 times. And I'm like, my God, we've done all of this. Can we try an elimination diet? And he fought me on it. And I'm busy. It's like, you don't want to do it, you can go see someone else. I think you need to do this. And so he did it. 3 weeks he's back. He's like, I've never felt this good. And then I'm like, well, let's see if we can find the culprit. So we added gluten back. Nothing happened. We added dairy back. Nothing happened. We added corn back. He told me within 20 minutes he had a vision of a gun in his mouth pulling the trigger. It's like, I think we should break up with corn. You're in an abusive relationship with corn. And he's like, but I love popcorn and corn tortillas. And I'm like, but they don't love you back. And I really want you thinking about your relationship with food. How many of you have been in a bad relationship in the past? I ain't doing it anymore. There's just, I'm not. I mean, I have a great relationship with someone I adore. I'm damn sure not doing it with food. When we did the Daniel plan at Saddleback Church, one of the pastor's wives came into my office a couple of weeks after we started, and I'm drinking tea, just like this. I had the tea in my hand, and she goes, "Would you put the tea down?" And in my head, I'm like, well, that's strange. But I'm generally polite. I put it down. She said, "I didn't want you to spit it at me." I'm like, "I've never spit tea at anybody." She said, "After I heard you lecture, on the way home with my husband, I told him I'd rather get Alzheimer's disease than give up sugar." And I would not have spit the tea at her. But I sort of thought, that's incredibly stupid. And I didn't say that because I have good frontal lobe function. But what I did say is, did you date the bad boys in high school? Because that's a bad relationship. That you would actually lose your mind than give up sugar. It just shows you the addictive quality of some of these foods.
Crazy.
So this is Dr. Ashisu, who came to work with us. He is our superstar doctor in our Manhattan clinic in New York. And he board certified in pediatrics, general psychiatry, child psychiatry, but he spent way too much time working and was not healthy.
Residency ruins people's lives.
I'm sorry?
Residency.
Ruins people's lives. But he wrote, Tana and I, this. He said, I was a hypocrite. Because he's telling our patients to get healthy, but he wasn't doing it himself. So he sets goals, stuck with them, read Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and the Omni Diet. Still sticks to Tana's 6-page grocery list. And we've got to change, be the change we wish to see in the world. You want to help your children? You want to help your spouse? You have to live the message. If you don't live it, you can't give it. I mean, if you're not authentic, it just won't matter, right? But by the fact that he got healthy, he became more effective in helping our patients get healthy.
Yeah, there's no suffering. So this is some of the recipes. This is something, I can't hear a difference. Do you guys hear a difference? No. You do? No. See, it's not on. It's not on.
It's on.
Okay, but you guys hear it all. So these are some of the recipes in the cookbook. So you get to have pancakes. It's just how you make them, right?
So, and this is the pumpkin spice cappuccino that I actually make Tana every
I
morning.
taught him how to make it. He's so great.
She, because I love it, she was making it for me every morning, and then she was going away on a speaking trip, and I'm like, well, who's going to make it?
And then somehow he figured out how to make it better, and it's so great because now I'm not doing it.
It's the way I tell her I love her
Yeah.
every morning. So this is it. Costco, organic, vanilla almond milk.
It's in the cookbook. We're not
I'm
going
gonna walk them, I just want them to know. 2 cups. So this makes 2 large cups. Each are 30 calories apiece. Because, right, we're calorie smart. Vanilla unsweetened almond milk. Half calf coffee. Organic half calf
Or
coffee.
decaf.
Sweet leaf, chocolate and pumpkin stevia, a little bit of pumpkin spice, not too much. Put it in a blender. It frosts like
Just like a
crazy
cappuccino. You put it
and
down.
is so good. And then we mix cinnamon from Trader Joe's with a bit of erythritol, shake it up, put it on top, sprinkle it on top. And it's like dessert in the morning, but it's 30 calories. You see, I am a value spender, Chloe will tell you. It's like I don't like lights on at home, turn the lights off, I've got enough money, that I don't like wasting money. And I don't like wasting calories, and you shouldn't like wasting them either.
One thing that's in there too it's one of my favorite things. When I'm in a rush and I'm going to the gym, all these kids rushing around, everything's busy. You can make one of these drinks that are in there in the cookbook. Throw a scoop of protein powder in there. And then if you really want to make it good, throw some MCT oil, some medium chain triglyceride oil, or some coconut oil in there. It's a meal. It's like a meal on the run. It's just so great. And it will totally sustain you and give you energy when you're going to the gym.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's great.
Is that in your cookbook?
Yes. So, I mean, there's just so many great recipes. The smoothies, the sesame bars, yeah, there's no suffering. And they're simple. I really
So
try
these
to
are
make
brain
it
healthy
simple.
meals, so just in case you're like, celery and carrots, that's all I get to eat? No.
And there's like 30 desserts, so.
But you have to be careful, because you don't want your whole diet becoming the healthy
No,
snacks.
but the desserts are so low glycemic, they're actually lower glycemic than some of the salads, because tomatoes are not super low glycemic.
And this recipe for lamb chops, who anybody likes lamb chops, is better than any restaurant in Southern California. I am not lying. And I'm Lebanese, I grew up with lamb, I love lamb. Whatever she did was spectacular.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot because I'm not a chef.
And let's just be really clear, when I first met her, she couldn't cook. In fact, I prayed.
He says that I went from disaster to master.
I prayed she wouldn't cook. Because, I mean, the kitchen would just be like, and she had no idea what she was doing. So this is not,
No.
I have to be a chef in
No.
order to make these recipes.
No, in fact, I tried to make this cookbook really simple. There's 2 ingredients in these nutty butter cups. 2. It's really
good.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. So this is why I wanted to reach out and talk to someone to really get in touch with you guys, right? And so when I talked to my friend George, he said, the first thing he said, and you guys have all heard this, you can't out-train a bad diet. So, go to the next slide.
You can be.
So I just wanted to sort of get in your heads, what you guys deal with every day. Because we're talking about a lot of food, but how do you get compliance? How do you make it real for you? And one of the things he said that really struck me, he said, police officers are like elite athletes with one exception. Athletes get to plan for a future event and train accordingly and rest accordingly. Officers never know when the event will come. They need to be ready all the time. For us, it's a matter of life and death every day. And I thought about that and I'm like, oh, that's so true. You guys never know when it's coming. So you don't get to just like be on and then be off. You kind of are on all the time, right? Because it's a matter of life and death, and the stakes are a lot higher. And I thought that was really a really valid point. And so he said proper fuel and hydration are critical to being able to focus and make split-second decisions. Having low blood sugar, this was his big thing. He's like, I can't have low blood sugar. Having low blood sugar and being hungover affects reaction time. Alcohol causes dehydration and rebound low blood sugar, so it's a triple threat. And so he was talking about how with some of the guys he works with, alcohol is such a, like they all go out and they, celebrate together and they hang out together, and he's like, I just don't do that. I go out with them, I don't drink. Because if I don't know when I'm gonna be out again, he's like, I'm just not gonna take that chance and be dehydrated and not be able to focus at my highest level. And it's so interesting, there are studies on this, I think I have it in the next slide. But he said, we never know when we're going to get stuck on a perimeter of containment. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Okay, someone tell me if I'm saying that right, because I don't want to sound stupid. So if you fail to plan, okay. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You need fuel to plan for the unexpected. Overtime, night shifts. And this is one thing he said that really hit me. He's like, if you don't plan and you're out, it's not like you can choose to eat healthy. Because what if, some of the healthy options like Sharky's or Pollo Loco are closed? Those are the healthiest ones. They might be closed when you're on night shift. And he's like, you need explosive power on demand. So he always carries his ice chest. How many of you do any of you take food with you when you're on duty? Okay, so some of you do. So there's a few of you that do. So I'm like, okay, so what's in it today? If you always take it, I want to know right now what's in your ice chest. So I totally tested it. And when he told me, I'm like, oh, that's a really good ice chest. The only thing I switched was the Dave's Killer Bread. I just switched it for gluten-free, but it's fine. If some of you can't do that, I get it. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I actually made this ice chest, and it took me 5 minutes. I wanted to time it. It took me 5 minutes to put it together. So you can look at it. I love this ice chest. This is the one he actually said he uses. It's a 6-pack, just because he keeps it in the car all day, and it's just really great how organized it is. Doesn't smash anything.
You know, we have time. Why don't you walk them through what's in it?
Okay. So he starts off with a smoothie, same way I do. Same type of smoothie I do. And then this is a little different. Have you guys ever seen 6-packs? They're actually really cool. So you can actually, on the very top of it, you put it like your ice pack, right? But then on the side, I'm going to put this down. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
This is just ridiculous. Okay. So it opens like this. This is why they call it a 6-pack. It opens like this. Can you guys see this? Okay, so it's got shelves. It's got these little shelves. So it doesn't smash anything. So I bought some leftover chicken, whatever's left over that's healthy in the fridge, I just stuck that in there. Some leftover chicken. And he always takes extra food because he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get stuck, right? I'm just gonna leave it out. Turkey sandwich, gluten-free bread, some oatmeal with blueberries, an orange, and then he always takes 2 huge bottles of water. One thing he said that he does, because he doesn't know what's gonna happen during the day, and it's not usually gonna be good, he starts his morning off with 16 to 20 ounces of water with lemon in it because he wants to be hydrated. And then he puts 2 large bottles of water in his bag. If he gets a call, he just quickly hydrates. And then he always has it with him if he gets a chance to drink it. He keeps nuts. So some of this is similar to what I would do, but it was just when he explained why and how he does it, I thought it was really cool. Keeps nuts in there. One thing he said, it's not the kind of protein bar he uses because I don't usually have protein bars, so I just grabbed one really quick. He uses RX bars or one of those bars. He keeps it in his vest, and I thought that was interesting because he's like, if I do get stuck for a long time, I don't want to be hungry. I just keep it tucked in my vest, so or whatever, wherever you guys keep it. But that's what he does, and I thought that was a really interesting idea. And that's one. The only other thing he does besides the water is he keeps protein in a little bottle, so he can quickly just throw water in it. That's his ice chest. Keeps it with him all times. So. I don't know if that's helpful, but it literally took me very little time to put this together.
So this was the study we were talking about. 1,100 people studied the morning after a heavy night of drinking. They had a blood alcohol of 0.02. The group had poor attention, poor coordination, memory, and impaired reaction time when operating a moving vehicle. So using alcohol as a stress management
Yeah, that was the
technique,
next day.
not good for your microbiome, but also not good for your brain.
So, and I'm thinking if you guys have to make really quick decisions, I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, most of us think, oh, well, it's the night before, so what? Next day you're fine. No, I mean, apparently studies show you're not actually cognitively as sharp the next day. So, and I was thinking, well, yeah, duh, if you drink a lot. No, not necessarily, even if you're not drinking a lot. So we already talked about this more or less, but eating for performance versus recovery. So save the intermittent fasting for your recovery days. Do any of you do cleanses? We prefer you don't do long-term cleanses. We want you eating clean all of the time, right? So don't do long-term cleanses where you're not, you're fasting for long periods of time, and definitely don't do it where you're working. Yeah, that's really.
So what we want you to do, just for like 6 minutes, is break up into groups of 3 or 4 people and just begin to circle the foods you love that love you back and the foods you need to lose. And the reason I did this exercise is I have a grandson, Elias, that I dearly love. He has Tourette's, Tourette's is a tic disorder where he has both motor tics and vocal tics, and it's really hard on him. And I put him on an elimination diet. His first thought to me is, I don't like any of the food. And so I said, okay, let's today, we're going to find 20 issues.